There are four noble truths in Buddhism. The first of those is that life is suffering. The second noble truth says that suffering is caused by desire or attachment. The third noble truth says that when our craving ends, so does our suffering. And the fourth noble truth is the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. These are the fundamental truths that were taught in my Buddhist class, as well as most doctrine of Buddhism. The Eightfold Path includes such things as right view, right action, right mindfulness, right livelihood, and so on. For the Buddha, the aim is clearly to see that everything is impermanent, that everything is empty of a fixed self. And if we see deeply enough, we can stop clinging, we can stop attaching ourselves, and thus suffering evaporates in our midst. So suffering is ended by non-attachment, and ultimately by extinguishing the flame of craving. This is what we call nirvana. In our last video, we explained that Zhuangzi had a profound voice in the Chinese tradition that parallels much of detachment. In his famous story where his wife died and Huzi, his friend, came to mourn with him, but instead he found Zhuangzi drumming on a tub and singing. And he was shocked. How can you sing at a time like this? And Zhuangzi said, essentially, she's gone through many transformations, from no form, to life, to death. Why should I cling to one stage of change? Why should I resist the way? Zhuangzi grieved, but his grief was an acceptance into a larger pattern. His suffering came from grasping, and his peace came from an alignment with the Tao. And this is where Buddhism and Zhuangzi, Chinese Taoism, converge. Suffering is an interior distortion created by clinging to what cannot last. If we loosen our grip, the pain loosens as well. In contrast to this is Christianity. God enters into suffering. Suffering is not avoided, but suffering is actually embraced by the God-man, Christ. We know that the Word became flesh in John 1:14. And God does not teach a path out of suffering. In fact, God walks in suffering, as we hear from Isaiah 53 that he took on our infirmities. In Hebrews 5:8, he learned obedience through what he suffered. So Christ is not merely teaching about suffering. He is the suffering God. In his embodiment, he does not escape it. He embraces it, and he transforms it from the inside. St. John Chrysostom said he endured many sufferings but rejoiced. He emptied himself for our sakes, and so rejoiced in suffering that these things that he said glorify me. Now, when Christians talk about asceticism, it can sound like the Buddhist strategy of detachment, fasting, self-denial, prayer, stillness. But the meaning is completely different. Christos Yannaras says Christian asceticism is not an individual work of merit. It is a dynamic entry into the life of the body of the church, transfiguring our desires into the free life of love. This is the key difference. Where Buddhism detaches from desire, desire is not eliminated. It is sanctified, made relational, and made personal. The goal is not emptiness. The goal is love. Jesus says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. This is not detachment. This is participation. Paul says, I have been crucified with Christ. Chrysostom explains that the death is not metaphorical. It is baptism. It is the mortifying of the old self. It is Christ living within us. And Paul hears the Lord say, my grace is sufficient for you, My power is made perfect in weakness. Archimandrite Justin Popović says, to be orthodox is to be constantly struggling away from man toward God-man, making oneself divine human through struggles. Never alone, every deed and thought is personal, universal. Buddha teaches that life is suffering. Its suffering ends by extinguishing craving. The goal is release. Zhuangzi teaches that suffering comes from resisting change, and peace comes from accepting the way. Christ reveals that indeed our life is a gift. Suffering is real, but suffering is how we become holy when united to Him. Only in Christianity is suffering the place where God meets us, heals us, and brings us up to Him. In conclusion, while Buddha recognizes suffering, recognizes impermanence, recognizes attachment, and has an offering that allows us to extinguish the craving, to even acknowledge that the self that we think we are doesn't exist, that actually if nothing exists and if everything is empty, then yes, it is truly seeing reality that allows us philosophically to finally break free from the pain of suffering. But it is only in Christianity where Christ enters into our suffering, allows suffering to be the vehicle through the cross, through the pain and transformation of the cross, and then invites us as Christians to not avoid suffering, but to indeed follow Him, to pick up our cross, and to move in the direction that once we embrace suffering, it transforms us, we walk the path of Christ, and through that suffering, we lay down our individual egos to allow the full transformation of our being to take place, just in a parallel way that Buddhism asks us to drop our own selves. Christianity also has us to drop our own selves, to drop the old man, and to allow the Christ to flourish that lives within me, to fully embrace and become embodied through our bodies. This is Christopher with Christ Revisited.